Thank you so much, Senator Van Hollen and Perry Bacon Jr. That was wonderful. Such a dynamic, important, and insightful conversation. So now we are moving on to our next amazing conversation. As we know, persuasion is not a one-size-fits-all approach. To win, we have to connect across a diverse coalition, united against MAGA extremism. Few people understand this better than our next speakers and guests, strategist and bulwark publisher Sarah Longwell. Woo! Come on up, Sarah. And messaging expert Anat Shenker-Osorio, who we know and love, joined by our amazing moderator, special guest Mehdi Hasan. Mehdi is, of course, an award-winning journalist, broadcaster, best-selling author of Win Every Argument, The Art of Debating, Persuading, and Public Speaking. He recently founded Zateo, an amazing media organization dedicated to truth. Sarah Longwell is president and CEO of Longwell Partners, host of the Focus Group podcast, which many of us love, and a longtime strategist, Republican strategist, and former national board chair of the Log Cabin Republicans. She's been focused on rebuilding trust in our institutions and each other. And Anat Shenker-Osorio, host of the podcast Words to Win By, principal of ASO Communications, a leading voice and researcher on why some messages move people and others don't. So this should be a fascinating conversation. Thank you all.
Thank you very much for that introduction. Good to see you all. I have no idea whether this chair is going to survive the 20 minutes, but we're going to try for not a viral moment. We'll jump into it. Time is short. We live in a very divided country. I think that's fair to say. People don't agree on anything. Ordinary Americans cannot agree on the most basic of facts. But one thing every American agrees on is that the Democrats are shit at messaging. So, just to get straight into it, what should Democrats be doing on the messaging front that they're not doing? Anat.
Oh, gee, what a fun question. Can I make the chair collapse? So there's a hegemonic model that exists in Democratic circles, and it's so pervasive that we don't even notice it. It's like the air that we breathe. It's known by many names, but the apt moniker for it is pollingism, because it holds that humans are atomistic individuals who make their voting choices, including whether to vote at all, on the basis of being rational actors who have a static set of issue preferences which are discernible through polls. And then you simply ask them what those feelings are and repeat back to them what they purportedly feel. However, for those of us who understand humans and who study social science, we understand that humans are, in fact, irrational creatures who are guided by our unconscious biases and the words and ideas that gain salience from the people that we trust around us, whether it be friends, family, content creators, media, social media, is actually what influences us. And so where Democrats, not all Democrats, not all Democrats, but where a preponderance of Democrats have gone astray is by thinking that there is some fixed idea of a mythical middle when in fact people are persuadable and compositions of electorates change over time. And so rather than go to, quote unquote, where people are, we need to meet them, yes, at the place of their values and not at their podcast-induced prejudices, and actually be for something. Because as your book says, if you want to win a debate, you have to first set the terms. And so where Democrats have gone awry is not merely in not having a message, it's in not having a modern communication infrastructure, not just because of the echo chamber that we all know about, but because if you'd like to persuade people, they have to hear what you said in the first place. And a message that nobody hears, by definition, cannot convince them. So if you are out here peddling some highly curated and tested milquetoast, it really doesn't matter because people didn't hear it. I'm almost done. And so when you think in contrast to a model that I call magnetism, which is the understanding that if you want people to come to your cause, you need to be attractive, and you think about something to make it concrete, like critical race theory. In the Virginia governor's race in 2021, did anyone give a shit about critical race theory? Could they tell you what it was? No, obviously not. Was it on their top issue list? Hell no. They decide what they want the topic to be, and then they pursue an entire strategy that involves Moms for Liberty, that involves with DEI hauling university presidents in to humiliate them. And so if you want to win a debate, you have to set the terms, not go chasing after a feeling that no one hears anyway.
Sarah, as someone who came late to the Democratic Party coalition, as an outsider, what perspective, sometimes outsiders give the best perspectives to people who are stuck in a rut. What do you say as an outsider to your new Democratic friends about how they're messaging in an age of rising fascism?
Okay. How mad at me are you guys willing to be during this conversation? Pretty mad? Okay, great. All right, I'm going to say a few things really quickly. Number one, why is it that the largest independent media company, or a couple of the largest independent media companies that have grown up since Trump are Never Trump Republicans and a former Democrat in Barry Weiss? Why is that? Why do Republicans understand something that I think a lot of Democrats don't? So I actually agree with a lot of what Anat just said. I might disagree with how she said it. Those words were big. I followed it because I'm a professional. An average person probably wouldn't have, which she knows. She knows you guys are all really smart. But I would say that most Democrats kind of talk like this. Whereas Republicans understand that their audience wants to hear them say normal stuff like a normal person. And when you ask voters, like, about Democrats, one of the things they'll say is they're like, I don't know, they sound like aliens. Like, the way they talk, it doesn't connect with people. Donald Trump has the vocabulary of a fifth grader, and that lands. People understand it. And listen, communications is about sort of three simple things. It's about the message, the messenger, and the timing. And Democrats do all three poorly. Okay, the messaging is I listened to the first two speakers, and they were very nice. What did he say about a carried tax loophole or whatever? That's the plan? No, guys, people, you don't want to know what everybody says? Politics is actually really simple. If you listen to voters, what do they care about? Shit's too expensive. Everything's too expensive. They can't afford anything. They can't afford their housing. They can't afford their grocery bills. Donald Trump won and Joe Biden lost because Donald Trump said he was going to lower their grocery bills immediately. He was going to make stuff more affordable. He was a business guy, and these socialist Democrats weren't going to do it. That was one of the biggest reasons. It's not just because of like racism and sexism. It's because they believe that Donald Trump was, I've heard it, all I do is listen to swing voters multiple times a week. Sometimes I do it with Anat. And they'll just tell you it's because things were so expensive, I can't afford anything. And also, I hate woke, is basically the combination. And so people who speak forcefully and clearly and say, all right, you need a message that tells people, I care about you. My entire speech is going to be about you working, about you being able to pay your bills. It's not about me. It's not about what I say. It's about you. If a candidate can do that, and it sounds like they believe it, it sounds like the thing Mamdani's doing, people think he cares about them. They'll forgive him the other stuff. The reason they like Trump, they think Trump's on their side. They think he's their advocate. He thinks he's their weapon. People just want somebody to go to bat for them. And if Democrats don't feel like that, not just talk like it, but feel like it, they can say the right words, but if people don't believe them, which they don't, they feel totally unconnected to it.
You mentioned message, messenger,
like
timing.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, we need more excitement like that. Get off the chair, Democrats. Stand up. Message, messenger, and timing. So Anat made the little asterisk, not all Democrats, right? You just mentioned Mamdani. Who are the messengers who are getting it right, and who are the messengers getting it wrong? Just a real-world example to people sitting here, in your view.
Everybody that I disagree with on policy are getting it right. So your AOCs, your Bernies, your Mamdanis, like...
Oh, the people I agree with on policy. Yay, double win for me.
But here's the problem. Their policies are terrible, and they won't work, and Americans won't like them. But they are talking to people about affordability. No, say it. It's okay.
That's another panel discussion that I will not take your bait on. But carry on. Who's doing it badly? That's what they really want to hear.
Well, so people are doing it differently. So one of my other least favorite politicians is Gavin Newsom. But Gavin Newsom has just decided to be a full-on performance artist. Okay, there's a place for that. Basically, anybody who is out there talking right now, because I will tell you, the messaging strategy has to be everything, everywhere, all at once. It's a movie I hated. It is a communication strategy that Democrats have to get on board with. Hate my opinions, it's fine. My messaging strategy is correct. Okay, where I heard the congresswoman say, she's doing her job, and that's why you don't see her on CNN. Okay. I'm not saying go on CNN. I am saying, please, for the love of God. Let me ask you something. You guys are all Democrats, so maybe you can do this. You can probably name most of the members of Joe Biden's cabinet. I don't know, maybe you can. Can you? No? Can you name all of Trump's cabinet? Yeah, you know why? They're all stars. They're all media stars that a media ecosystem has raised up. They're in front of the television all the time. Why do people think Donald Trump right now is still out there? His economy sucks, and voters know it. He still goes in front of the camera every day and says, best economy for black people, best economy for women. How's your 401k, buddy? Like, who is the Democrat that you look to and says, that's our leader? That's our guiding light. And if it's only a performance artist, that's not good, because that's just one little component. You need an array of people.
So Anna, I gave Sarah 2 chances to take my bait. She didn't do it. I'm going to be blunt about it. Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, what did you make of their messaging this week on a key issue that right now the Democrats are polling better than the Republicans on in terms of blame, but that will change very quickly, I suspect.
When you say to voters, fire, 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 the house is on fire, this is a fascist threat, but then you refuse to go into the building with an extinguisher and pull them out, they are left either thinking you're lying in the first instance, or your politics as usual being hyperbolic, you don't really mean it, or there is a fire and you don't give a shit about them. When you are talking about a regime of the bullies for the billionaires by the bribes, and you are now gonna sit down and negotiate, and we'll meet you at the time that you want, and we'll come in when you say, what you're doing is making believe that this is normal times and this is a normal administration, and that you're gonna get into details. What Democrats needed to have said, first of all, was that this budget previously is a MAGA murder bill. Because when you say to voters in focus groups, this is a MAGA murder bill, it's not that they instantly go, I also subject myself to swing voters on a regular basis. It's not that they go, good point. It's that they go, wait, what? Murder? Is it gonna kill people? Which people? How many people? Is it really murder, or is it more like manslaughter? Is it intentional? It catalyzes the conversation you require so that you can say, no, dog, I'm a no on the MAGA murder bill. And now, in this fight, rather than saying, we're gonna negotiate with you for these Medicaid subsidies, you say, no funding for fascism. You say, no dollars for dictatorship. If you're bold, you say, no payouts for pedophiles, because you need to get heard. And so when you say those things, and you make it clear, I will not be complicit in funding your war against Americans. I cannot fund your war against Americans.
So, on that note,
yeah,
a very senior Democrat, let's call him Hakeem, said this week, the Trump administration's threat to deploy troops in Portland is unlawful. Here's a thought: focus on protecting the health care of the American people. What did you make of that tweet from a messaging perspective?
Either we are in the midst of a fascist power grab, or we are negotiating with a standard right-wing administration, but both cannot be true at the same time. And if you require people to believe that the truth is the truth, and I think that you do, in order to do the only things that have ever worked both in this country's history and around the world, I work internationally frequently, to repudiate authoritarian threats, which is mass, sustained resistance, refusal, and ridicule, then you cannot be doing a, hey, not that great to be sending the military against your own people, but also, did I tell you about healthcare? You have to be saying what I said earlier, which is, we can't be complicit in funding attacks on America.
But could you be ruthless? Here's the thing, right? The pedophile stuff plays. You want to talk about what's like really popped in focus groups? On the right, it is the only thing. Here, let me tell you something else. Okay, so I'm going to come right back. People are mad at Trump. Hispanics are angry at Trump. They were sort of last in, first out. Young people are frustrated with Trump. But if you ask them to rerun the election, I screen for this all the time. People who voted for Trump who rate him as doing a very bad job. And you say, okay, you rerun the election again. You have a chance to vote for Kamala Harris. Do you? Nah, I'd probably sit it out, which I'm like, okay. But it is not the same. Democrats are not winning people over. Why did I start down that road? I had something more important to tell you.
I have an interjection.
Oh, no, it was
on
about
that one.
ruthlessness.
So, Democrats' approval rating is in the toilet. I'm not telling any secrets. Everybody knows that. And they are also performing extraordinarily well in special elections. And yes, I hear you, reactionary centrists. I know that in special elections you have highly engaged.
Did you say
or whatever.
reactionary centrist? I'm right here for you. Yeah.
I sure did, Sarah.
Yeah.
Did you know that Sarah and I are doing a project together? So even above, yes, the fact that special elections draw out a special kind of voter.
So they don't draw out Trump voters because Trump's not on the ballot.
Right, and because, of course, we have sort of the normal, clap back to the party in power. But even above that, if you look at the turnout and the overperformance, it is overperformance. And so I hear you on your voters, and of course I believe you saying, if I had to relitigate, that's not what we're seeing in our groups. What we're seeing in our groups is that people, despite Democrats' best efforts to present themselves as milquetoast who will not lead you anywhere, totally agree with Sarah, they're voting anyway because they now see that the threat that they didn't believe is in fact.
All right, on that note, we're running out of time. Sarah, I want to ask you this question about so many things to say, but only 5 minutes left. Let me ask you this. What do you say to the argument from some people, we could call them reactionary centrists or not, but some people who say, well, it's all very well going on about democracy and five-alarm fire and this is fascism, but swing voters only want to talk about grocery prices and healthcare. Stop talking about this stuff. Stop talking about democracy. Focus on quote-unquote kitchen table issues.
Stop talking about democracy. Do talk about America. Go tell all your bosses. Never use the word democracy. Talk about America. Democracy is a thing up here. America's a place where these people live and work and the things that matter to them, okay? Just make that switch. For the most part, I don't say like, oh, messaging this, that. I'm just saying that's the one switch I'm begging you to make. On the centrist versus progressive, though, the worst thing that Democrats are doing right now is eating themselves alive over this fight. Because I'll tell you what, we do focus groups where we screen Democrats who want the party to be more moderate, Democrats who want the party to be more progressive. And guess what? If I didn't know which group was which, I wouldn't have been able to tell you because all of them want Democrats to be more aggressive. They want people to go out there and Democrats, and I'll tell you something else. You guys have got to figure out what Big Tent looks like, okay? Republicans have figured out it's a stupid red hat. Democrats have got to figure out how you go from Mamdani all the way to your Abigail Spanbergers and your Alyssa Slotkins, and it's all okay.
Just not John Fetterman outside the tent. No, I'm kidding.
You could have had Connor Lamb if you'd listened to the reactionary centrists.
Hey, I've said sorry many times. He lied to me. We are running out of time, but again, important question. You've got a lot of people here who work on the Hill, work in the Democratic Party. Why? It almost, I don't want to disrespect either of you, both of you are experts, but a lot of what you've said seems obvious. People want aggressiveness. People want simple language. Why isn't it happening? Where are the roadblocks? Is it the people in this room? Is it people down the street? Who is blocking talking about America?
It might be you guys. I mean, Democrats come and ask me for advice. I'm like, stop listening to all the groups. Every group, don't listen to them. They're giving you bad advice. And also, people...
That's not true. Some of the groups are saying what you're saying. We want
Those
fighters.
are the smart ones, and they should listen to them, and that's fine. But here's
why
the thing.
aren't they, is my question. Why aren't they?
I do think what is
Because that's the roadblock we need to overcome.
I mean, this is like one of those arguments that I think progressives hate, where the campaigns are populated by young progressives who have never met a person from central Pennsylvania and how they think.
But that's not the reason why people aren't fighting. You yourself just admitted that progressives are the ones doing the fighting and better messaging.
So
I'm asking about the lack of fight.
I'm sorry.
The lack of fight. Who's blocking?
No, you go.
The lack of fighting, which you seem to want to inspire on this stage.
Or with the audience, we don't mind.
Yeah, a little bit of it all. the lack of fight, in my experience, comes from the way that message testing and creation, no offense to my hosts, because they are not part of this, gets done. They message toward milquetoast because it's very simple. You do these in-channel experiments where you pay people for their attention or you recruit them for their attention. You tell them a 100-word thing. You register movement in vote choice or in disapproval or approval. And you're like, yes, that works. And you mistake what works in a trial heat for what works in an election. When in fact, you don't have a captive audience. What you need is a message that will make people stop scrolling or sit up and listen in the first place, and that's not what's tested for because of timidity and fear, and because, let's just be fully honest, the financial incentives do not align with being bolder, and that's really the answer.
Hold on, wait, she's just making the best point. Stop testing. The testing is killing you guys. Republicans are not doing it. They're not sitting there being like, does this move us 0.2 points? Yeah. It is such a waste of money, and it is killing your gut level instinct.
I want to see the Republican focus group where they're like, invade Greenland. Good? Bad. They don't test for that, I'm pretty sure.
No, they just think it's hilarious. They're like, this is why he's so fun and great, and that's why I like the fascism, because it's also kind of funny.
So let's get specific in the last couple of minutes. You keep talking about messaging, and you just said the message, right? We've talked about the messengers and the failure of the messengers, and, you know, I'm not going to name names, Hakeem Jeffries, but what about the message that Hakeem's people should be taking next year? Let's talk about midterms. Forget the presidential election for now. You've already talked about Gavin Newsom and other. Midterms. What is the kind of message this party should be running on next year that resonates with swing voters? Dare I say Republicans, or are they a lost group?
This is mine. Yeah.
I mean, it's for both of you.
It's true. Someone did take your job. And they did take your health care. And someone did take your ability to have a single salary and get a white picket fence and be able to still drive to Disney. And if you'd like to know who took all of your money, here's a handy tip. It's the people with all the money. But if they can convince you that it was the brown guy, or they can convince you that it was the trans kid, or they can convince you that it was the person who doesn't look, live, or love like you, then you're not going to be able to have the power to join together to get the country that we all want and deserve. You have to have an origin story. You have to name a villain. And this is where we disagree. You cannot feed your opposition's narrative, because authoritarianism is built on fomenting a counter-revolution to a revolution that never occurred. It is to say, you know why you feel badly, you know why you have more month in check? It's because of those people. And when we feed that story, when Democrats feed the Republican story, they are doing the Republicans' work.
Sarah?
I just think the narrative is so simple. Donald Trump is he's cutting your health care to give it, and so he could give tax cuts to billionaires, just the same way he's covering up his billionaire pedophile buddies. Get Epstein in there. Be ruthless. Go right at it. But
I got to jump in. If you take Epstein out of the narrative,
you still have it.
But wasn't that a very similar to message to 2024? Did not Kamala Harris say that?
Oh, guys. Do you want me to relitigate? First of all,
I'm just asking. When you said that line, taking health away to give to billionaire buddy, I'm pretty sure I can find Harris saying that.
Yeah, I know. The problem is, and this is where every election is a little bit different, and something that Democrats, you guys have, I just need to say a couple of things that are really important. Number one, you've lost it. You've lost the culture. You've lost immigration. If you don't say you got to make the border safe, if you don't say that we got to do something about crime, this party is cooked. And if you keep believing polling that tells you that, like, no, Americans, are really upset about Donald Trump and the way he's doing immigration, that is not true. They think that the excesses aren't good, but they believe we need a secure border, and they think we need safe streets, and that is the most average American thing out there. They're like, hey, man, I want a job. I want my streets to be safe. I want us to have a secure border and a good education, affordable health care. That's it. That's what Americans say all the time.
I lied. Last word to Anna.
Because you didn't like that last word?
No.
Yeah, I know. All right, keep losing. This whole conference is called Way to Win.
That's fine. If you're so right, you won't mind Anat giving the counter view.
I don't mind. But see how she sighs every time? Like, it's a burden to put this out there.
That might be the burden, Sarah, or it might be something else. As a person who has worked on getting Democratic voters to vote for Democrats,
As a person who's worked to get Republican voters to vote for Democrats. Okay, but go ahead.
what I would say is that, yeah, humans are normal. Voters are humans. They want safety. That's what humans want. And so you do need to absolutely address their fundamental desires, which is to live in a place where they can put food on the table, be home in time to eat it, and feel like their family is going to make it safe to them home at the end of the day. Normal. But when you lean into the Republican arguments, to their xenophobia and their hatred, you are feeding their storyline and you are helping them out. And that is true whether you are Mamdani or whether you are Andy Bashir. And it is true not just within this country, but around the world. What studies have shown over and over again is that when you present people with full-fat fascism and the light version, they're going to go with A. And so we cannot continue to turn ourselves into a low-calorie version of the other side because we are raising the salience of their ideas and we are crediting their solutions rather than having our own.
Okay, I disagree strongly with that framework, and I think it's very easy to say, we want legal immigration. We want immigrants to come here legally, and we are going to make a system where people can come here legally more easily. That is not bending to the authoritarian will. It's
Agree
just
with that.
We believe
Agree
that
with that.
What? Yeah, take your mask off. You can do this. You
Agree.
can rock these lines.
By
You
my
don't- they
count,
don't
we've
have
had
to be
7
invented.
last words. And I'm being told to wrap. That was an excellent discussion. Anat, Sarah, thank you so much.